hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today. Previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, Coca-Cola James, alongside Tequila Calico, who will be joining us a little later because, he's hitting that tequila. But who is here making his return? Mountain Dew Scooter.
I like that. I really do. It is good to be back.
And it was a good week for Wrestling Wit as we interviewed Mickey Molbolt from Sweden. Fantastic interview, fantastic individual. And then we interviewed Alex Ace on Wednesday. Can't recommend those interviews enough. A lot of great content on both of them, and you should definitely support them as well. But this upcoming Tuesday, I should say, we have the son of wrestling, Vincent Michaels, um, a black and brave graduate in the New Jersey area right now, um, doing very interesting things to say the least. We cover all of that. Meep Moop guy, um, the and going to WWE shows regularly and a hell of a lot more. You definitely want to check that interview out. And then this upcoming Wednesday, we got Lola Harvey, um, who's just starting her wrestling career, but has been around it for the last decade or so. We talk about that, a show at Crystal Lake, um, maybe an encounter with Sasquatch, maybe we don't know. Um, Pro wrestling, the Hall of Fame, and a hell of a lot more. Definitely check that one out as well. And then this upcoming, well, not this upcoming, but where are we? Wednesday the 13th, we have Jessica Black. On December 20th, also a Wednesday, we got Angel Blue. And then on Wednesday the 27th, our last interview of the year, we have Katrina Creed. So December is heating up even though it's fucking cold.
You ain't kidding here. Ooh,
I know.
but
I have to wear socks with my sandals. It's so inconvenient.
oh god, I I I love the cold. Not from the outside, but from the inside of my apartment.
I mean, yeah, you get to drink cocoa and soup.
Mm, ah, I wish my dad hadn't given away the Keurig.
I think we're done putting ourselves over.
I would say so.
So we shall be saying it's a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the news. And we will be talking all things Pepsi Phil when we do our review of Survivor Series in a bit. But we will be starting with how Pepsi Phil got fired from AEW. Because it was rumor and innuendo suggests that Bryan Danielson is a part of this committee that got
Yeah.
um,
Hey,
him fired.
uh, uh, what type of friggin' committee? Disciplinary committee.
Right.
Like, why? Why is I wrestlers should not be in that role because you could say no, you could say everything that you could say that you're impartial, you have no bias. That's clearly bullshit. You you absolutely have a bias, especially when you're someone like Bryan Danielson and the past he's had with CM Punk.
Have they have a bad history with each other?
It it's why we didn't get so many matches between them. We got like two main events out of it.
In
Uh,
WWE?
yeah, and I still think both of those matches did not live up to either two's name. Um, but again, it's just not something that a wrestler should be a part of making a decision. That's like a lot. That's like actually performing a wrestler's court.
I didn't think of it that way, but yeah, you're kind of right about that. You know, it, ironically enough, Bryan Danielson gave more of a corporate answer than Tony Khan did when it comes to CM Punk. Very nice, very professional, very evil. Um, but I get what you mean. If, for instance, if this was Eddie Kingston, who clearly has issues with Daniel Bryan, would Bryan Danielson, I should say, be the one to discipline Eddie if he had issues with him? And could you objectively believe Bryan if he dealt out punishment? Not to say that he's the last person that between Tony and punishment, but could you really give him? Would you really say that he would suggest something fair for Eddie? You know what I mean?
Uh, yeah, considering that Punk has announced on air in AEW that there are only three wrestlers named Eddie that he respects, and after Eddie Guerrero, the second one was Eddie Kingston. Um,
Who's the third?
I mentioned this in uh, the interview. It's it's not a well known Eddie. It's
Oh, Eddie Edwards.
no. Oh, uh, let me see if I can.
Hmm. Well, continue your thought.
Uh, so I do not believe Daniel Bryan would be impartial. Uh, um, Eddie Vegas.
Eddie Vegas. Okay.
Uh, yeah, he said Punk said Kingston was the third best Eddie he ever shared a ring with.
Do you, because it does seem like Bryan is going to continue being on this disciplinary committee. Is this going to get him heat and issues with the rest of the locker room?
Um, I don't, I don't know, quite honestly. Um, I do know it is potentially soured him uh, on uh, on ever making a return to the WWE.
You might be right about that.
Yeah, he is persona non grata after after doing that because WWE is part of a huge tradable financial group, and having something like that happen is is bad for intrinsic value, and it's bad for overall value as the shareholders might that might be familiar with Danielson, but not quite. Uh, that would piss them off, and then we'd probably see also a massive sellback of shares.
Well, speaking of somebody, maybe not going back to WWE, to somebody that may be having a partnership in the near future, that's QT Marshall. And
Yes.
he resigned from AEW. He said that he wore every hat that the
Yep.
AEW gave him. It was a great time, but now it's time to walk away because he didn't necessarily share the view of the
Uh,
company
yep.
in 2023. Um, that being said, he is, well, he's not the owner of the night. He's the head coach of the Nightmare Factory, which is with another guy. I don't know if people know what his name is. Cody Rhodes, who is currently a WWE star. You know, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does, and and Cody says he he wouldn't object to having QT, uh, on staff, um, but I completely understand uh, where QT is coming from. They've gone from rap class featuring Har- by Harley Cameron featuring Harley Cameron. Um, that's a that's a weird thing to say to begin with. But we've gone from that to chin up, tips out, and watch for that ass.
What? Watch for the shoe.
Yes, but after Full Gear, how did Tony win? With a clearly loaded ass. I mean, it wasn't even hidden that well. It was literally noticeable.
Yes.
Uh, yeah,
I
so
mean, that's not QT's fault.
I, uh, I know. I'm making an example of what of something that happened while he was there to something that happened probably because he was not around. Um, the the dirt rags are indicating that uh, MLW has shown interest in QT Marshall, uh, uh, as well as they signed one of our previous guests. No, I take that back. She signed with Impact. Sam Laterna. Uh,
Yeah, shout out to Sam. She was previously on MLW.
yes, that's
But, you know, I can't really speak to QT Marshall as, a wrestler and if he's necessarily desired. Everything he really did in AEW, from a wrestler standpoint, I'm sorry, it failed miserably. He was never considered anything major. Um, Whether or not he decides to take a step back from, actual pro wrestling and just focus on the coaching, yet to be seen. I think WWE would absolutely take him as a coach if that was the case. Um, but as a wrestler, I don't know if he would really be valued to anybody to Impact to MLW.
yeah. I really don't think MLW will benefit at all from saying, "Oh, we have QT Marshall as part of our training staff." I can see the WWE making him a road agent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, um, I could even possibly see him becoming yeah Shawn Michaels' number one guy
Hmm. In
in
NXT.
NXT. Yeah, because Shawn really needs somebody to play off of, and when QT is not wrestling, the man is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, could I could agree with that. But I mean, what is that? What does it speak to AEW that somebody like QT Marshall, who seems like a pretty loyal guy, if you ask me. He sticks to whoever is does well by him, and then somebody like him ups and leaves because he doesn't necessarily like the way the company is going. How does that really? What does that tell you about the direction that AEW is going in?
I think it simply tells him that AEW is trying to spark some sort of attitude era, and it's 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 not exactly working, but QT has always been a smart person in this business, um, and QT probably realized it before the rest of us that AEW was heading towards something that uh, really would not benefit him anymore, especially since he was on screen with a group that doesn't even get used anymore.
Right.
Uh, yeah, we haven't seen Aaron Solo in God knows how long.
Since
We
Bailey
haven't seen
left him.
Harley. Uh, we haven't seen Harley in a while. We haven't seen Johnny TV.
Well, I mean, Harley Cameron is obviously in an LGBT educative class because she clearly can't tell when somebody's gay. Um, and Johnny took his TV to the repair shop, obviously.
Because the last thing we need is another season of him on Survivor.
You don't even remember him on Survivor.
I do. I do. That was during the time when I was uh, working for CBS as a Big Brother correspondent.
Well, and then obviously there's Anthony Agogo, who a go goed away.
Oh God, I completely forgot he existed.
So did everybody else. Thank me for reminding you. Um,
We got well in a little bit we're probably going to get much more sadder.
should we get into the very, very sad news of Sunny? No more sunny days, as
Yeah, she was sentenced to how many years?
17 years in prison and 8 years probation.
Uh, do you think they'll let me have conjugal visits?
You know, it does seem like Sunny is not the best of person. Never necessarily has been, in all honesty. But when you're only hurting yourself, that's one thing. But when you hurt people around you, that's a different thing. And then you become, a danger to everybody. I do
Yeah,
hope that during this time that she's in
she's on
prison,
there.
that
Yeah,
maybe she will be able to turn her life around in some way, realize the mistake she's made, and maybe come out of it the better end.
you know, I had a crazy thought in that Sunny exploiting who she used to be might actually help her out in this situation if she plays off her years as a manager. That might increase her prison cred.
Maybe.
Uh,
Um, from somebody that's getting locked up to somebody that just got locked up in a different way. Alexa Bliss has given birth.
yes, congratulations to Alexa Bliss and Ryan Cabrera. Now give us Alexa back.
We need our Alexa Bliss back.
Oh, for the love of God, we need her back.
Congratulations to them on doing that thing. Um, then we have interesting bit of news. Mitchell
Yep,
got released
that,
from WWE.
that was my sad part. Uh, they WWE and Endeavor are reportedly seeking to cut 50 million to 100 million in expenses from the WWE. UFC did this at the beginning of the merger. Um, yeah, Mckenzie Mitchell, which honestly was a shock because I actually thought she was good. Uh, she's also married to one half of the NXT commentary team, Booker T. I mean Vic Joseph. Uh,
Really?
yeah. There was it was like 2 weeks where he wasn't there because he actually went on a honeymoon.
Interesting.
But what's so odd about this is that these cuts are not coming from the talent side. They're coming from the corporate side. Uh, uh, Layoffs from the finance department, sales and partnerships, human relations, and production. Uh, Several employees at the senior vice president level let go, including Michael White's of financial planning, head of global sales and partnerships, Craig Stimmel, controller and chief accounting officer, Karen Mullane, streaming technology SVP, Stuart Fry, and gaming SVP, Matt Geyer.
For me,
So,
it sounded like you said that they were cutting seniors.
you could probably say that too, quite honestly. But it people are surprised that these releases, which are known to happen in two parts of the year. It's
After Mania.
right after Mania and between Christmas and the Rumble. And what is surprising is that so far none of the in-ring talent has been released, and this is not to raise the money for Pepsi Phil's contract. This there will be more corporate cuts before the weekend is out.
Well, speaking, just about Mackenzie, it did seem like she had, a better personality than some of the other, correspondents that WWE had. But unfortunately, she never really got to show it because she was primarily on their Twitch stream. So
No, you're thinking of Megan Morant.
maybe.
Megan Morant is always on the Talking Smack or Talking Raw. The internet shows after.
Well, I mean, either way, it does. Clearly, they have way too many correspondents. Um, they're obviously not going to get rid of Jackie because she just literally signed like a couple months ago. And who would want to fire Kathy Kelly again? Um,
Nah.
I mean, Kayla Braxton has that repertoire with Paul Heyman, so you can't get rid of her. So, I mean, it was kind of who has the short end of the stick.
And but there's also another There's another female talent, female interviewer. Or is that Jackie?
Probably Jackie.
There's now so many of them, I can't think.
We're being joined by Tequila Calico.
Tequila? What? You said tequila or killer?
No, Tequila Calico.
I mean, well, we'll get there. I'll get there soon enough. What is going on, my man Scooter?
Nice to hear from you, my man.
Likewise, especially towards this time of the year.
Yep.
Now, Calico, can you tell us about your thoughts on Mckenzie Mitchell, correspondent for WWE, getting released?
Uh, is it really like a big deal?
I mean, considering the conversation I just had with Scooter, it doesn't
I
necessarily seem like it.
it would. This is her release is, in my opinion, the start of future talent releases.
There is something that they said there was like low key 100 employees in corporate got cut, and no one's
Uh,
really saying that.
uh, I believe what you're referring to is they wanted to cut 50 mil. Endeavor wanted to cut 50 million to $100 million in expenses.
Which is weird that they want to merge and then, oh yeah, let's cut these expenses.
Most likely because they want Endeavor will probably fill any of those positions that are deemed essential with their own people, and that ends up coming out of Endeavor's pocket and not the WWE.
True, because of the fact that, and plus the positions they might probably already had got some overlap, so they don't want to. I get it.
Well, another interesting
I,
bit. Oh, continue.
I mean, the bump to me. Who really watches the bump? I've never heard anyone go, "Yeah, I can't wait to watch the bump."
Unless
If it
it,
was called the hump, a different story.
unless it pertained to Alexa Bliss, but those days are now over.
It's not watch the baby bump, and
Well,
That is true.
speaking of another bump, maybe a bump in the road, Dixie Carter made was spotted backstage for Raw in Nashville. She was a guest of Bruce Pritchard. We haven't heard about Dixie in pro wrestling in quite some time. I
uh,
believe she's completely out of the picture, but
yes, the last time she had done anything, it was that AJ Styles special.
right. So I mean, she doesn't necessarily have any horse in the race at this point. Do you see Dixie Carter possibly getting some type of job with
Fuck
WWE?
no, 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 no. Well, bro, next question. Next
Well,
goddamn question.
well, you know, I could honestly see uh, Dixie being a candidate for the Hall of Fame.
Really? I
I,
mean,
The TNA Hall of Fame? Cause damn sure it's the WWE.
it, because she was, one of the I believe the first uh, majority owner of a wrestling company. first female majority owner of a wrestling company. Um,
She did do some character work on the show as well. She is EC3's aunt.
and not anymore, buddy.
I mean, he's still Ethan Carter the third, EC3.
Now he's Ethan Copeland. Because,
He's Edge's son?
uh, more attractive younger brother.
You find EC3 more attractive than Edge?
I mean,
Edge is
and
pushing
yeah,
50,
I
man.
mean, he's half his age. Come on. I mean,
I don't know. I think Edge looks better than EC3.
One wrong bump for Edge and career over.
What does that have to do with his looks?
Uh, uh damn it. And let's also not forget that AEW is giving away the candy store uh, by announcing Adam Copeland and Christian Cage will take place next week on Dynamite.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that. Ooh.
You know, just when you think that they do something smart, they fuck it up. But, what was I getting at? It might, obviously, that match will be taking place on Warner Brothers TV, but maybe in the future it won't, because one of the people bidding for WWE programming next year is Warner Brothers. Uh, it is rumored and innuendoed, strongly believed that WWE will be on FX next year. I don't think FX has ever had pro wrestling.
Yes, they have. They had Impact.
No,
hmm
that was Spike. Paramount.
No, they also had Impact after Spike was gone. And then it was. And then after that, it was AXS until the pandemic.
I feel like USA is maybe more accessible than FX, but I could
Uh,
be wrong about that.
no, I'd agree with you. The way that the medium of cable television is evolving, uh, it's gonna get to a point where it's actually going to be now you can just choose which channels you want. Because uh, the the streaming services like Pluto, Freevee, uh, Samsung TV Plus that has all the niche stuff. It's I'm kind of surprised that the only promotion that has taken advantage of this is TNA. They're no longer Impact.
That's right. What say you, Kaliko? What are your thoughts on WWE potentially being on FX next year?
I mean, it would be harder to find. I mean, That's good for me because I guess I could watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia right after. Maybe that would be that would be the plus, right? I get the best of both worlds there, but I will believe it when we see. I always thought, I mean, USA in itself was kind of a. Keep in mind back in our day, used to be kind of a premium channel, hard to find. USA,
Was always part of basic cable.
but it's always part of basic cable. FX, I'm not sure is always part of most people's basic cable.
It used to be a premium channel, but then you had FXX
And yeah, FXX and FXXXX and Triple X and
and
And Triple
yeah,
X is a completely different
yeah.
channel entirely.
I I'm I'm
I'm just saying.
surprised that uh, in that conversation that Fox Sports One isn't up for consideration.
Would WWE consider Fox Sports rather than Fox Sports 1 simply for the fact that it's
It's
just
Because
another.
they don't consider it a sport.
Right.
Remember when they tried to like do that whole thing with football and pro wrestling? Nah, that shit was not popular.
I
People know the difference.
I
20 years, 30 years ago, you might have got away with that.
I I say regardless with SmackDown being on with SmackDown moving to USA. Uh, I think it's very clear that Raw is gonna stay on SmackDown. What what I would like to see is if the WWE actually managed to get a actual television network for themselves.
I mean, they had their own network. They took it.
Yes, but yeah, but only if you're outside the U.S.
Yeah,
Uh,
Canada.
and yeah, if you try to watch it on Peacock, it's always the best of WWE this, the best of WWE that, the best of WWE getting hit by a wiffle ball bat. Uh,
True.
so they may as well just get in on the ground floor of being the first company to actually have a dedicated cable channel for it, uh, and that way that would be a money that would be a money maker. That would almost be guaranteed revenue.
I mean, then it wouldn't. I would think it would only be WWE content on there, considering Endeavor and whatnot. UFC's a part of that.
Well,
Nah, ESPN is not playing that shit. Yeah, like the WWF, the WWE side for sure. The UFC part,
uh,
because the only way you can watch UFC is ESPN, ESPN Plus, or the UFC Network if you're overseas. But that's about it.
and uh, technically, Warner Brothers Discovery is part of Disney Plus and part of Max. Uh, HBO's streaming. Uh, I wouldn't mind seeing, an actual. you know, combat sports programming, division. Hell, let's get another run of American Gladiators. Why not?
I
Bring
mean,
back
I still
Nitro.
watched it.
I had an action figure of Nitro.
I used to have the game on Super Nintendo.
Uh,
I was into that shit.
uh, the
I was into that shit.
Yeah, the version on the regular Nintendo was a pain in the ass.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Back to pro wrestling because we got sidetracked there.
Ooh, that's too.
Just to feed into rumor and innuendo a little bit. What if Warner Brothers takes WWE on an offer? What happens to AEW?
I mean, they just have to play nice, unless Warner Brothers put them on a whole different plane.
Do you
I mean,
think that Warner Brothers would completely drop AEW, or you think that they would hold the competition with having the biggest wrestling organization in the world?
I'm not sure Warner Brothers is interested in them to begin with, let alone interested in them and completely dropping AEW because for however much we jest about Tony Khan, and that's about 99% of the time. That, that that remaining 1% is somebody who knows how to negotiate contracts when he's not kissing ass.
Yes. Yep. I mean, he negotiated probably, and plus he's experienced with it. He's been negotiating with football players for shit the last several years, salaries and shit. So he knows how to come to a happy medium. If there's nothing else, he knows that.
Okay. Well, I mean, it was the ones that were interested with Warner Brothers, FX, and something we've talked about in the past, Amazon, which maybe not. We'll see.
If it ends up being on Amazon, it's gonna be free to watch.
It would have to be, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah, because I mean, it's a pain in the ass just to get the prime for football.
and there's not a lot of ways to measure the amount of viewers. You would have to have it running side by side with an incoming traffic filter to you know uh separate all the incoming connections into their rightful places, and uh not not repeats for anybody who's using someone else's account. That's the toughest thing with Amazon.
Well, we shall see what happens going forward. Our last bit of news has to do with Ric Flair and
Oh God.
For
something
real?
he wrote on I believe it was Twitter. Um, Maybe it was reposted. I'm not quite sure, but I'll
Him
read
asking.
what he said, and I quote. I am so tired of hearing all of this negativity. I don't need to work and I don't need the money. Can't I simply enjoy being by my dear friend Sting's side for the last few months without so much hatred? I know I'm old, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy life. I have earned the right to do whatever I want, and I'm exactly where I want to be. I appreciate everything Tony Khan has. It just says Tony Khan, but I'm more than willing to walk away if I'm embarrassing you and your company. All I can say is I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, that statement is one thing, especially after on live fucking television, you would invite the age range of 18-year-old girls to 28-year-old girls to your hotel room. Didn't
At
specify,
least they're adults.
didn't specify an amount either.
Oh God, he did this on AEW TV.
Yes.
Yep. Well, you know what they say about Ric Flair. He loves the pussy. If he can find it, that is.
Oh, he can find it. Trust
I
me.
mean,
He,
there was a time when Ric Flair could go down on a girl and just woo her into an orgasm.
And now he could barely get woo energy drink down his own throat.
wow, y'all are just.
I kind of felt bad for him until you mentioned what you just mentioned, and now it's just, yeah, I'm back to where I was.
Yeah, that response was in response to what Flair said.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I will give him the benefit of the doubt of the fact that he is old enough to where he could be saying worse, and people really won't think twice about it. So I'll give him that much.
you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Ric Flair is behind the recent Israel Palestine conflict.
Will you stop it?
Hey, I'm part of the people that are afraid to showcase their religion because of all that crap.
And on that, we shall end the news. And now, a quick word from our sponsors. So,
Rogue Energy, the only gaming drink company in the world with 4 unique product lines to suit your task at hand, whether it be juices, shakes, smoothies, and everything else in between. Their low calorie, no sugar energy formula is the perfect alternative to sugar filled canned energy drinks and sodas. Their extreme formula provides the most energy, focus, and sports performance possible. Their hydration line offers focus, ingredients without the added caffeine. Drink it anytime you're thirsty. And their shake formula is so delicious. Who doesn't love a cookies and cream, 0 calorie energy milkshake? First and foremost, they've designed every Rogue product line with performance and effectiveness in mind. It is critical that you look at the nutrition panels of drinks when comparing options. There are countless off brands out there that are presenting low quality, poorly dosed formulas that amount to expensive caffeine water. Every formula they produce is designed with optimal levels of high quality ingredients. Additionally, you won't find a powdered gaming drink brand that dissolves better. No need to have chalky textures in your drink. Their taste profiles are unmatched, specifically designed for gamers, athletes, students, entrepreneurs, people with hectic schedules, individuals with low energy, podcasters who can't shut up, people who are health conscious, and so much more. Great as both a pre-workout and as a coffee energy drink replacement. Specifically designed every Rogue product line to be the best gaming drink on the planet. Rogue energy, more focus, more wins.
use promo code WRESTLINGWITHE for 10% off your next purchase. And we are wrestling with WWE Survivor Series War Games. It's hard to believe that this was literally 1 week ago. It took place in Rosemont, Illinois, at the Rosemont Horizon, now known as the Allstate Arena. Attendance was 17,138. A damn near sellout. Um, and I mean, there was only 5 matches on this card, but I gotta say, it was an enjoyable and obviously for obvious reasons a memorable show to say the least. Um, the show as a whole, how did you feel about it, Kalika?
Well, 5 matches, like you said, pretty good show overall. I can't even lie. It was some good stuff. Um, Me personally, I was like, I was driving to LA while watching it, so I was kind of paying attention and stuff like that. But it was overall decent show. Can't even knock it. New Japan, AEW take notes with these 8-hour pay-per-views because it felt quick.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It felt really fucking fast. I was driving to LA by the time I got there. I was like, wait, it's over? Holy shit! It went by quick. So I guess they're cutting the fluff and getting straight to the point, which is really really good.
Scooter.
Uh, this is a this is I think the first uh decent war games uh that they've had since they you know brought the concept to main TV. The women's and the men's game war games got a a lot of time as it should be. Uh, uh, Gunther and Miz, that even felt like it went a little bit longer, but it was still good. Um, I You could probably have done without uh, Santos Escobar and Dragon Lee. I mean, it was supposed to be Carlito, and I think that was also a kind of a big moment for Hispanic fans. Finally getting to see Carlito wrestle a one-on-one match at a PLE.
I mean, not
Um,
even um, uh, Mexican fans, just fans in general that's enjoyed his work. I mean, I
uh,
was excited to see him.
the it was a it was it was a good show. Um, if I had to pick anything to nitpick at, I would say why did they really need to uh, decide make what why did they you know devote so much time to wondering if Randy was going to show up? That that you could have had you could have not done that at all, and would it it probably would have been uh, just as good. Um, the the idea of Randy being, you know, unsure if Randy will make it because of a prior attack would have made more sense to me. But this this was a hugely enjoyable event, and They struck while the iron was hot. And I will tell you about my response to that when we get to the main event.
Okay, that gets us to the first match. Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch defeated Damage Control. We got Io Sky with Dakota Kai, with a barely there, with a barely here, barely there, barely everywhere. Asuka and Kairi Sane were also there. It was 33 minutes and 35 seconds. Good way to start the show. Maybe a little bit surprising that Damage Control, considering all the damage they've been doing, actually took the L here. But I wasn't necessarily mad about it. What say you, Kalika?
I'm trying to remember. I said that they were gonna win, huh?
I think you said that Damage Control was gonna. If Damage Control won, then Judgment Day was gonna lose. If
Yeah,
Damage,
it's always one or the other, right?
yeah, and then if
I
this,
always thought that. It was like, and they just pissed me off both times. Anyway, but yeah, this match actually everybody got their shit in, and this is the crazy part. I'm just gonna say this quick story before I get to it. So me and my boy was watching it, right? Charlotte walks in at 6:35. He says at 6:40 she will be doing a fucking moonsault. At 6:40 she was doing a goddamn moonsault. Like on the dot. I was like, God damn it. Like, because I
Now,
saw, and what got me was when EO did her shit, I was like, oh yeah, Charlotte can't get her shit after that. And Charlotte was like, fuck that.
then you ask your son, now say money shall fall from the sky.
Exactly.
Uh,
But overall, it was a good match. Pretty physical. Shotzi, I swear to God, she must have been concussed. Because this girl was like literally hitting like everything. When she hit the chair and the chair bounced off and it busted her in the
did that bus door open? If I'm not
face.
mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something. So, yeah, Shotzi got her ass toe up by herself, taking all them damn hits. Bailey was the MVP. And it looks like to me, it seemed like the story was Bailey was fighting for the group, and it in double ways. Like she's fighting for the group, yeah, obviously to win, but she's also kind of like fighting for the group to find her place within the group,
Right.
which was interesting to me. So that to me was the biggest takeaway from that match. But overall, a great match.
Scooter.
uh, First off, it wouldn't be right unless we mentioned the change to Damage Control's name, and that's Three Asians with a Bailey. It's the long-awaited concluding trilogy to the Three Men and a Baby. Uh, um, I won't.
You ain't lying. I should got three Asians and a baby. You're gonna start calling. That's gonna be my Twitter handle: three Asians and a baby and have damage control.
The interesting thing here is that it was only 4-on-4 for the women, and yet they only did a minute or so less than the total time of the men's match.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that's insane, especially when you honestly could have made this a 5-on-5.
mean, who would have been able to fill that extra spot? I mean, obviously Dakota Kai couldn't because she was injured.
Well, I'd say, why not bring Trish back and Lita?
I mean, maybe Trish, but Lita, uh, kind of seems like it's over for her.
Uh,
Over for art teacher,
Yeah,
English art teacher.
yeah.
let her make her art, let her have her fun, but
Well, this this match was way more nuts than the men's match. I mean, Io diving from the top of the cage with a garbage can on her head. How much trust do you have to have in every person in that ring to confidently be able to pull that off?
what about confidence in yourself that you're going
Yeah.
to actually hit the mark?
I don't think I don't think the mark actually mattered. Um, as long as she dove into a group, uh, the group would cover for it, so it would look good no matter what. Um, there's a couple of things I didn't like. Dakota Kai trying to slip a kendo stick in, and yet she keeps it in there so long that Becky is able to grab a hold of it and pull it in. Well, clearly there was enough time for her to just pull it out. Then again, the New Zealanders and their pullout game. Uh,
Will you stop it?
uh, you know, the WWE seems to have forgotten what the main starting point of War Games is supposed to be, and that's the heels always have the advantage. Um,
I mean, they had the advantage in the men's, so it can't necessarily be all the same.
yeah, but that's how Dusty defined it. That's how. That's what. That's the type of match War Games are supposed to be. The good guys overcoming the bad guys, and if you look at all the War Games throughout WCW, the one thing they have in common is the bad guys had the advantage, but the bad guys still all lost.
Doesn't that kind of get repetitive in a sense? Like, you know what's going to happen. I think that's the detriment to the World Games
It
match, is that concept exactly.
it works with five. Uh, it it doesn't work with four really. Um, and so I guess that's the right decision. Also, they really need to stop allowing pinfalls to end the match. War Games is supposed to end with a submission.
Meh. It doesn't really matter, honestly. How many stars do you give this match, Kaliko?
I mean, I give it a solid 4. It was a good starter. People were hot for it. They had crazy flips and shit. Shotzi knocked herself out 13 times. It's typical.
Squirtle?
I'm gonna say a hard 4 too.
Considering that I thought Damage Control was absolutely winning this match, um, and they didn't, I'll give it a 4, just for that unpredictability. Alright, that brings us to Walter Gunter Starks defeating The Miz to retain his Intercontinental Championship in 12 minutes and 20 seconds. Good match. I liked how Miz didn't exactly go full face. He still had some, heelless tactics to try to win the match. And weirdly enough, it was appreciated by the fans as well. But obviously not enough to, overcome the ring, the wrong, the rah 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 rah. Kaliko,
Miz did what he was supposed to do with that match because everyone and their mother thought that match was a squash match. But Miz made Gunther work for it. I mean, Gunther at that one point was kind of like Okada, coming down to the person's level a bit because he kind of overlooked how good Miz is.
right?
And it just to be clear, Miz is. You gotta give Miz props, man. This dude works with everybody. People shit on his style, but his style is so flexible with anybody and everybody. He took them chops. His face, his chest was red as hell. But hey, that's what happened with Gunther. But he made Gunther work for it, and that's the one thing I think Gunther was surprised about. Was the match a tad bit long? Tad bit, but that was the point of the story. It was the point of the story was Gunther should have. Gunther himself felt like that match should have been over quicker because of the fact that he feels that he was way more superior to Miz than
Right.
you know what I mean. So that I think that kind of balances it out.
Squirtle?
You know, part of me is wondering, when did Miz go face?
A couple of weeks ago,
Like,
but it's not.
yeah, but it was the weirdest face turn ever. Uh, like, I mean, I will say this: I think it's some of the best work the Miz has ever done. I think Miz is one of those rare talents that even though he can be an asshole when he's a heel, that he can be an asshole when he's a face and get as much love as he would have gotten, boos. Uh, and I mean, I figured that there was no way the Miz was winning this. Um, but there were a couple of moments where I thought, maybe, is this the time? 537 days? It, but I agree with Kaliko. Uh, Gunther, it almost seemed like Gunther wasn't exactly ready to face the version of the Miz he fought. And you know that last minute creative way to get him take the Miz back into submission, it almost showed Gunther. Well, it gave us an example of Gunther panicking.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, he will doubt himself, and that is how you bring someone like Gunther down to your side.
We're starting to see the cracks.
Yeah, and that really is the way you should see it, because he was he was already pissed at Imperium to begin with.
Yeah.
Uh, so he's taking out that anger on them, and it's it's they're showing that Gunther is a mortal man like the rest of us.
How many stars do you give this one, Squirtle?
I I feel like being generous. I will give this a 4.
Kaliko?
I was thinking the same. I was like 4.25 because it really showed the whole thing that Scooter was right. That was a perfect overall, and it's and it only took someone like Miz to do it because he has that experience, and I think Gunther underestimated that experience.
You know what? I'll give it 4 as well. Now we get to Santos Escobar defeating Dragon Lee in 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Honestly, a little disappointing because it wasn't Carlito. It feels like the match kind of dipped in quality because of that fact. Um, but it was a decent match. It got Santos, a win on a major pay-per-view. So, at the end of the day, I suppose it did do what it needed to. But what say you, Kalika?
Pretty much. Personally, I always when I saw it got announced, either Carlito's injured or they're saving it for a bigger event because it wouldn't have made sense for Santos to turn. And I always say this: when someone is turning, you either want it to give them a hierarchy with the people, or if they're turning heel, you want it to pay dividends immediately. And I think, to me, otherwise it would just defeat the purpose of turning, right? Um,
Right.
so this is a good win for Santos to justify why he did what he did, and get him on that path to maybe eventually Rey Mysterio and or Carlito.
Scooter?
I believe there was a 6th match that they had canceled. And I'm having trouble remembering what it was. Um, Damn, either way. Um, this I honestly think we could have done this without we could have done without this match,
But what match
and
was the people supposed to go take their pee break on?
it's a good point, but it should have been at least uh you know you know Logan Paul should have had at least one defense. And you could have ran Logan Paul and Ricochet back.
We're waiting until WrestleMania for that, though.
Yeah, I think they're waiting to Mania for that. Ricochet gets redemption at Mania.
Mm, Uh, mm, uh, Either way, I'm gonna give this match. I'll give it 2.5.
Kaliko?
Solid 3. Give it a supposed to be.
I think Kaliko's right. 3 is probably the best way to go with it. Alright, we got Rhea Ripley defeating Zoe Starks to retain the Women's World Championship in 9 minutes and 15 seconds. Kaliko.
Talk about a match that shouldn't have been on the card. Anyway, Rhea won. Zoe made it a good fight. Next. I mean, it just showed Zoe could hang. Next.
Scooter?
Yeah. Now this was basically a squash match. Um, they like making Rhea look invincible. Um, and they like when fans chant "Who's your mommy?" Um, this did what it was supposed to do. Could there have been someone else better suited to uh, take Rhea Ripley's place? Uh, I don't know, but maybe we know that they're building up to uh, uh, Rhea and Naya.
Yeah.
Um, I also think they're gonna. Uh, I think I think Shayna Baszler is gonna be her Rumble opponent.
Quite possibly.
Um, so yeah,
How many stars you give this one, Scooter?
I will give it a solid 3.
Kaliko?
He, he, he dropped.
Oh, we will come back to Kaliko. Um, I will also give it a J. Alright, and that brings us to our last match. We got Cody Rhodes, Seth freaking Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Randy Orton defeating the Judgment Day, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, uh, Dirty Dominic Mysterio, DJ Nick Funko, and Drew McIntyre in a War Games match in 34 minutes and 50 seconds. Um, to your point where, you said it was unnecessary that if Randy was going to make it or not, I think that was more to play up NT's role. You know, somebody else might take his place. Somebody from Chicago, or somebody that just made a return, like R-Truth, for instance, which was a big surprise. Really happy to see R-Truth back in WWE doing
Yeah,
his thing.
I
Um,
mean, and Triple H at that press conference afterwards, he said, "Let's talk about that big return." Of course, I'm talking about R-Truth. Uh, that was that was funny as hell,
right.
and even more so seeing him on Raw and him saying he'd like to be the fifth person on the Judgment Day's team for War Games. I mean, I think at this point we can finally call R-Truth Alzheimer's R-Truth. Is
And but he did find those Grammy award winning jelly rolls.
and you know what? He had those little Debbie ones, which are so disgusting.
But nonetheless,
Should, should have had a Tootsie Roll instead.
it was, I think, a good match. Somewhat memorable. Definitely a shocker considering Damage Control lost earlier in the night as well. Um, but yeah, it was a return, a triumphant return for Randy Orton, who I don't even know how looks even better than when he left.
Yeah, they were. The rumors were that he was looking even more jacked than when he left. And let's get something clear here. Randy Orton had double fusion neck surgery.
Back surgery.
Yeah, and you know a single uh, a single fusion surgery kept Shawn Michaels away from the ring for uh, almost a little over 4 years. Edge for 10. Uh, so if this says anything about Randy's work ethic, if you were doubting, whether or not uh, Riddle's uh, well earned release was going to have any effect on him, you should know that nothing can stop Randy Orton from having a successful singles run. In fact, when he's in a tag team at this point, it it really does hinder him when you really look at it.
I can make that argument with Riddle. I mean, he's never needed a tag team partner. It was only to get Riddle over at that point. But the
Yeah,
only
but
thing holding Riddle back at this point, or at any point, was Riddle himself and his issues.
fair
Um,
point there.
but yeah, it's it's insane how fantastic Brent really looked fantastic in 2002. It's
Yeah,
incredible. He
he
looks
had those
even better,
bangs.
huh?
Yeah, but he had those like weird bangs.
True.
I do love the fact that Damian Priest was going to attempt, and I figured something like this might happen, that he was going to attempt to use the briefcase during the match.
Which makes absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever.
Well, if you have Seth down and you have three of your other teammates,
But what was to say Drew McIntyre does not Claymore every last one of them and win the and pin Seth and win the championship?
uh, because it would still be considered a Damian Priest cash in.
But that's to say when Seth Rollins cashed in his briefcase in at 31, Roman Reigns couldn't have won that match because it was triple threat.
That's a fair point. I don't exactly think the logic of cashing it in during a multi-man match already in progress. I think that just adds to the confusion. And given what happened with Theory, I think the WWE are taking their time on this one, and I am gonna say that Damian Priest will uh, will have successfully cashed it in by the time Elimination Chamber ends. Um, uh, you know the the all five draping Orton DDTs. That was a great visual. Uh, the being thrown right into an RKO from the cage. That was like, and it was so clean.
Oh yeah.
It was probably the most beautiful RKO he's ever delivered. Um, I I think now they might pull the trigger with Randy on being 17-time world champion.
And you know it's rightfully so. In all
I
honesty,
mean, I mean, it's now a chase between Randy and Charlotte.
is he at 15 or 14 right now?
14.
14. Okay, so he needs it 3 more times.
Yeah, and he's in the shape to do it, unless they give Cena one more month long reign, just so they can knock Ric Flair out of that record book.
I don't think John Cena is going to do something like that. I don't think. I think John Cena's time is, has somewhat expired at this point.
I mean, he's going through uh, a a crisis of a crisis of self, and I maybe it happens at Elimination Chamber. But then again, I think they're gonna pull out uh, uh, Cena and Logan Paul for Elimination Chamber.
Um, honestly, I have no idea at this point, but
I mean, unless they plan on doing it for WrestleMania and they do Ricochet and Logan Paul uh, at at Elimination Chamber.
no, I think it's going to be Ricochet and Logan Paul at Mania. It has to be at this point. But yeah, no, Randy Orton looking fantastic. Good match. Um, that RKO was phenomenal on McDonough. It's funny how Cody actually got the W over Priest. To actually win the match.
Yeah, Orton said, "You take it."
Um, that being said, how many stars do you give this one?
I am gonna give it a 5.
I will give it a 4. It hit all the right buttons. Um, not necessarily, all that memorable, but the moments that were memorable will arguably will remain that way. All right, and that brings us to the last part, and that is
Yeah, it, I, we gotta set something, make something clear here. The the closing right corner graphic had come up,
yes.
and you know many people, assumably, thought this thought this really wasn't going to happen. Um, but that as soon as that music hit, I went. I literally shouted, "Holy fuck!" at the top of my lungs. James, tell it to the masses.
It happened. Hell froze over. Pepsi Phil has returned home. And Kaliko did not believe me. Kaliko completely uh completely dismem he disregarded it. Did not think it was going to happen. I feel like I was the only person that kind of knew that it was going to happen. And it did. He's here. And he's back. And he's not going anywhere for the time being.
You know, I don't know if do you remember the remix for WrestleMania 38
That was
and our reaction to Cody returning?
yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember what I said?
Not particularly.
I said, "Hey Tony, you can keep your CM Punks. Nothing is gonna match the level of this audience right now." Well, I clearly was wrong. That it, that this happened not even to not even to come into the ring. That it was just to show up, and this was not supposed to happen until the Rumble. I believe that was a false trail for us, the fans, to make us think, okay, he's not going to be here, and then all of a sudden, that remastered version of Cult of Personality and the level of noise from the fans was a bigger pop, than when Mick Foley would mention the name of the city they're in. I will quote my own personal post on this, and I am borrowing the words from Jim Ross. The Allstate Arena hasn't shook like that since Michael Jordan. It was Jordan-esque. Punk is home amongst his WWE family. I love the way that the fans picked up on clobbering time.
What do you mean?
When he actually looked at his watch, and he Punk only said "it's," and the crowd finished it.
Oh yeah.
Punk wasn't even wearing any merch.
No. Oh no. That's wrong. He was wearing the Daniel Bryan basic white tee. So.
Oh, it, no,
Yes.
because it's not. You
You
it's
wanna fire me? I'm wearing your merch on TV. You motherfucker.
but it's to show that Punk is a changed man, because the fans that are still upset by the release from AEW, which is complete, which is now complete bullshit. And Tony, we all knew that Tony Khan was uh, such a punk mark that he was the second. He would be the second in a human centipede that started with Punk. I mean, good lord, that man could suck ass. But and going back to the fact that they were willing to give him a live mic, uh, no more than 48 hours after his contract was signed, because it did not get signed until early in the day on Saturday. How Triple H and Nick Khan were able to keep this secret, and without it getting spoiled, it's just
You know,
cool.
I don't even want to say that it got spoiled or people didn't know that it was going to happen. There was two people that the fans were split. Those that knew it was going to happen, which was myself. I truly believed he was going to make that return. And then there was the ones that did not want to believe it was going to happen. Were you on Reddit at any point during that time?
No, I was not. I was thinking about how much Tony Khan is a hypocrite because uh, he got fired for speaking up about using glass in a spot, and of course, Swerve and Hangman, they use glass galore.
Well, Punk was against the glass.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, Punk. That was actually a case of Punk looking out for younger talent,
Right.
and it's we after this, I would I would say that uh, that Punk could possibly be in the top three to win the Rumble. Uh, I don't think that will happen. Uh, it will. It will. It will be Cody again,
Or Jay Uso.
or Jey Uso, or at the very least, L.A. Knight. Um, it's it. You
It's
know.
just I don't want to say that this is a nail in the coffin of AEW, because as long as Tony Khan has money and is willing to spend it, then AEW is going to be alive. But I don't even want to say this is like AJ Styles leaving TNA in 2013, but it's somewhat of a it's somewhat of it took all of this stupid shit for CM Punk to come back to WWE. Because this was never going to happen if there wasn't an AEW, if Tony Khan didn't do what he did. And it just doesn't look good for AEW that they had this megastar and they let him go. Especially considering that they didn't fire Jack Perry to boot. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Perry hasn't been on TV in quite some time.
And I can't imagine he's going to be on TV anytime soon since Punk came back.
Yeah, AEW really has to, start setting some firm boundaries. Um, I I honestly believe that there were a number of things Punk would do before he actually got fired. I did not think it would be for suggesting that they don't do a spot where both superstars could get very hurt.
Right. Well,
Uh, and that speech on Raw, where you know, you know, usually when Punk has a mic, he takes a long time. This, I think, is the fastest I've ever seen Punk get to the point, even if it was at the end of the show. I think that's a symbol of him being a changed man. And the fact that he said, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money. I, you know, Punk might be the most honest guy in pro wrestling right now.
You know, it's funny because literally the next day I was talking to a friend. Her only knowledge of pro wrestling is that I do wrestling with entertainment. She's told me many times in the past, you could tell me what the show's about, but and I'd like to listen, but I have no idea what you're talking about. I know nothing about pro wrestling. We
That's me explaining pro wrestling to my relatives.
so we were talking. I didn't bring it up. She brought it up. She was like, "Hey, I saw like last night. This guy came back, and it was supposed. It's like a really big deal or something. Is I know you do the show. Is that something like you talk about, or something you're going to talk about?" And I was shocked because she's never brought up pro wrestling ever, and for the simple fact that somebody that has no wrestling education whatsoever said, "Is this a big deal that this guy came back?" It speaks volumes on CM Punk's impact on culture in general that no people that don't know about wrestling even know about CM Punk and what he's doing. It's crossing over.
Yeah, I mean, so many non traditional outlets were covering it. Um,
The UK
I
says
don't,
he's not coming back to Wembley.
and by the way, Tony, uh, way to waste money with Will Ospreay.
And Kota
That
Ibushi as well.
utterly utterly ridiculous to spend that much money on a superstar who refuses to move to the U.S.
Oh, that's I want to say that's a conversation for another time, but I don't
It
see
is,
why we have to talk about Will Ospreay ever in the future.
yeah, I don't think so either.
But I think this is a really great move for Punk. I think we're going. I think for the first time in his career, he's going to prove people wrong in the sense that he can be professional. He can work with people that have issues with him. He can do everything people said he couldn't because he absolutely can. I think we're going to get some really good shit out of this. And I mean, my God, what a time to be a fucking WWE fan. In all honesty, you don't. You got Roman Reigns, you got Cody Rhodes, you got Jey Uso, you have LA Knight, you have Seth Rollins, you still got Brock Lesnar, you have CM Punk, you have all these megastars, and if you don't like one of them, well, you're gonna like the other one, and if you don't like any of them, then I don't know what to tell you because everybody is insanely popular right now, and everybody's getting pops, and it just seems like we're in an attitude era esque renaissance of pro wrestling once again, and honestly, I'm excited about it.
I am excited as well. Uh, there's still some superstars around that uh, might have some unfinished business with Punk, or someone who uh, is managed by a certain wise man.
Right, but that doesn't. People were upset because they think that Cody isn't getting his title match because of Punk now. But the story the story between Punk and Roman isn't about the titles. It's about Paul Heyman.
Yeah,
And
and
there's no reason you can't do that after WrestleMania.
there's also no. I also wouldn't have a problem if it was done at Elimination Chamber.
I mean, it's a big arena that they're going to be in.
So you might as well, give them a match that will get all the media outlets talking.
But
And
and I
it,
can
it and
yeah,
Punk wins that match,
Punk
which
is really
is,
not winning that match.
well, what I would think would happen is that Punk Roman first in a non-title match, and Punk wins that one, and then Punk has grounds to ask for a title match, with Roman, and maybe we even get a Punk Brock Roman triple threat, and it's just Paul Heyman in a shark cage shitting his pants.
Well, if we're talking, we're getting a little off track here by talking about the Australia Soul Elimination Chamber. In all honesty, I saw Nia Jax beating Rhea Ripley at the Rumble, getting the title from her. Rhea getting the rematch clause at the Australia show, and that actually be the main event where Rhea pins Nia to win her championship back. That's the last match on the card. Um, you can't. I mean, you can have Punk and Roman start the show. But I mean, it's how you want to do it
I
if you're
mean,
WWE.
considering that they are building, that they started kind of building for a Punk Rollins match. Uh, I don't know if you've seen the footage of Seth
Yeah.
flipping off Punk,
Mm-hmm.
but that was an angle, and I might even expect that more at at Elimination Chamber instead of at Mania, because it. I honestly believe it will be Cody again, uh, and this time he will be able to finish the story. Um, it's there's just so much promise for the future of wrestling in the WWE, and it's like a repeating sunrise coming up over the horizon that just brightens you up over and over again.
And that will conclude our coverage of Survivor Series. Join us next week as we talk about. I don't fucking know what we're going to be talking about. I'm sure stupid shit will happen in all pro wrestling. Ric Flair will have another rant.
Child,
How? He's in his 80s.
hey,
Is it going?
crazier things have happened.
I
I
mean, is he?
mean,
It's going to be a hand, and at the end of it,
no, I think it's just going to be dust. When when Ric Flair shoots his load, his dick just goes. It's like Sorry. My semen has turned to dust. Or it could be that, his dick shoots out a little flag that goes, woo!
Will you stop?
Never! I'm back, bitches.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing for whatever fucking reason, please like, subscribe, comment, vote on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Maybe not after this episode. Um, Join us this Tuesday for interview with Vincent Michaels. Join us this Wednesday as we interview Lola Harvey. And join us every Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews. Follow the show at Wrestling with E, but on X, Instagram, and Thread for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Where can we find Kaliko?
Or when my phone ain't killing on me, I'm Kaliko. Chronicles coming up. Uh, got another episode coming up. Might be a weekend hitter though.
Hell yeah. And where can we find Scooter Dust?
You can find me on X at Scooter Dust. I am happy to say that the remix will officially be back on the air starting with the 2024 Royal Rumble. Keep an eye out for on the social media pages for more info as we get closer to that date. Is there anything I used to say that I'm just forgetting? Probably, but I think that'll do for now.
It's enough. For Kaliko Yachts and Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
Woo!
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.